Hello and welcome to another Final Fantasy XIV video. In this video I will be explaining the basics of the summoner job at level 90. Summoner, alongside Red Mage and Black Mage, is one of the three magical damage dealers. They are often referred to as casters. They take up one of the range spots in a party alongside a physical range player. Summoner plays with a 1 minute rotation in which they have a lot of mobility through their many instant cast spells. In this minute, the job cycles through their summons, all three primals, Bahamut or Phoenix. Our gauge consists of two main parts. The icon at the left displays which demi we can summon next, either Bahamut or Phoenix, and the second part shows you which primals you can summon. The red ruby is for Ifrit, the yellow topaz is for Titan, and the green emerald is for Garuda. Energy Drain is a 60-second cooldown which does a small amount of damage and grants us 2 stacks of Ether Flow, and the Further Ruin buff. The Ether Flow stacks can be spent on Fester, and the Further Ruin buff can be spent on Ruin 4. Searing Light is our 2 minute raid wide buff. It increases the damage done from those affected by 3% for 30 seconds. As per 6.1, this buff originates from the player. We have the role action Lucid Dreaming. This spell restores mana gradually over the course of 21 seconds. Use this frequently to keep your mana topped up, although do not use it on cooldown as it's your only way of getting back into the fight after dying. Summon Carbuncle. This summons our Carbuncle pet, which will be the key to the rest of our rotation. Make sure this is summoned before every encounter. It will also disappear upon death, so summon it instantly after a wipe or death. During our rotation, we summon various primals and demis through the Carbuncle. When we do this, some of our spells change as well. Gemshine turns into a single target spell based on which primal we currently have summoned. Astral Flow turns into a single target special ability based on our current summon. This includes the primals but also both demi summons. Rune 3 is our filler ability. We cast this when we have nothing else to cast. It also changes into another spell when we have a demi summoned. Our summon demi spell is our big damage spell. It puts us into a trance that allows us to use several key abilities and opens up our rotation afterwards. This spell switches between summon Bahamut and summon Phoenix upon execution. Summon Bahamut turns our Carbuncle into the demi summon Bahamut. When we cast this, we enter Dreadworm stance for the next 15 seconds. During this trance, our Ruin turns into Astral Impulse. During the next 15 seconds, we will want to spam cast this spell to get in as many uses as possible. Next it turns Astral Flow into Death Flare and it allows the usage of Enkindle Bahamut. Summon Phoenix turns our Carbuncle into a demi summon, Phoenix. When we cast this, we enter Firebird trance. During these 15 seconds, our Ruin 3 turns into Fountain of Fire, which we will want to spam for the duration of the trance. It also turns Astral Flow into Rekindle, a potent heal and regen you can put on yourself, your tanks, or struggling party members. And lastly, it turns Enkindle Bahamut into Enkindle Phoenix, a OGCD with a very high potency. Bahamut or Phoenix then grants us 3 Arcanum, an Emerald one, a Ruby one, and a Topaz one. Each one of these can be used to summon a primal. Summon Garuda 2 can be used when we have access to the Emerald Arcanum. It turns our Carbuncle into Garuda. Upon doing so, we turn Astral Flow into Slipstream, which creates a ground AoE effect under the target. It also turns Gemshine into Emerald Rite, a short GCD single target damaging ability. Summon Ifrit 2 can be used when we have access to the Ruby Arcanum. It turns your Carbuncle into Ifrit. Upon doing so, we turn Astral Flow into Crimson Cyclone. This is a 2-part combo and a gap closer that does moderate damage. And it turns our Gemshine into Ruby Rite, a cast with moderate to high potency. Summon Titan 2 can be used when we have access to Topaz Arcanum. It turns your Carbuncle into Titan. Upon doing so, Gemshine turns into Topaz Rite, a short GCD cast of moderate potency, and when we execute Topaz Rite, we can combo that OGCD into Mountain Buster, the spell that replaces Astral Flow. A rotation is a 1-minute cycle which starts with Bahamut or Phoenix. Within this cycle, certain aspects of the rotation can be swapped and moved around depending on the movement or burst requirements of the encounter. The general all-purpose opener goes as follows. Precast Ruin Free and then summon Bahamut instantly. Inside the GCD of Summon Bahamut, use Searing Light and then start spamming Astral Impulse. On the first Astral Impulse, use your potion. Then, resist the urge to press any shiny buttons and use Astral Impulse twice more. On the fourth GCD or your third Astral Impulse, use Energy Drain and Ogborn. Then on the fifth, use Death Flare and Fester, and on the sixth, use Fester again. After your Dreadworm stance runs out, summon Titan and spend all Topaz Rites and Mountain Busters. Quickly summon Garuda and Swiftcast Slipstream. This Slipstream should still fall under your Tincture. Here's an example of the opener being done. After the opener, spend all Emerald Rites, then summon Ifrit and use up the Crimson Cyclone combo and the Ruby Rites. When you run out of procs, use Ruin 4 and fill out the rotation with Ruin Freeze until Summon Phoenix comes off cooldown. Ruin 4 can also be used earlier than this point if you need extra mobility or if there's a target to cleave present and you're not in Titan phase. The entire rotation repeats itself endlessly in this 1-minute cycle, with Summon Phoenix being on the odd minutes, whilst Bahamut plus your Searing Light will be used on the even minutes. The three primals, Titan, Garuda and Ifrit, can be freely moved around. You don't want to be in the middle of your Ifrit phase while heavy movement is happening, for example. You wouldn't want to use Garuda Slipstream while the boss is moving, and you would maybe want to prioritize using Titan when cleaving 2 targets as possible. There are many other possibilities and options to take into consideration. Being able to plan out your primal usage sets apart the bad summoners from the good ones. During any AoE encounter, it is recommended to keep up your single target rotation when there are 2 targets present. You can prioritize abilities that cleave damage during these moments though. Abilities that cleave are Ruin 4, Titan's Mountain Buster, and both Enkindle Bahamut and Death Flare. Starting from 3 targets and up, the AoE counterparts of our single target abilities become a gain. When there are 3 or more targets, change your rotation to use Precious Brilliance instead of Gem Shine, use Energy Siphon instead of Energy Drain, and use Try Disaster instead of Ruin 3, and use Pain Flare instead of Fester. Summoner brings a moderate amount of utility. Let's talk about that for a minute. Swiftcast is an OGCD that makes your next GCD ability instant cast. The spell is mostly used during the minute bursts, however it can be comboed during progression with the next spell I want to talk about. Resurrection allows you to revive a party member that has died. During progress, this skill is a viable tool at prolonging the pool. During progress, you can combo it with Swiftcast to lessen the strain on your healers by a considerable amount. Radiant Aegis is your defensive ability. This can only be used whilst Carbuncle is out. This means that it cannot be cast during the Bahamut or Phoenix phase or shortly after entering any of your primal phases. Addle is your rate-wide mitigation spell. Addle reduces physical damage dealt by the target by 5% and magical damage dealt by the target by 10% for the next 10 seconds. Addle does have to be applied to a target, and these mitigations only count for the abilities cast by the affected target. Sleep puts the target to sleep. If that target then takes any damage, their trance is broken. The spell is incredibly niche and doesn't really see much usage. Lastly, there is Surecast. This is your knockback immunity. Our stat priority is as follows. Get spell speed until you reach a GCD of 2.46 to 2.48. Then get crit over determination over direct hit over spell speed. The reason why we want that specific GCD so badly is because it allows us to put an additional GCD into our Bahamut and Phoenix phases. After that, we want to allocate points into our other stats to maximize our damage. This guide is not made with any particular tier in mind, so for the current best in slot set, please visit the Balance Discord or website. Here you can find the current best in slot list. There are a few things I wish to mention that didn't fit into any specific category, but I still believe are important to mention. If you have high ping, it might be difficult to do your burst and Titan phase without clipping GCDs. This makes the job perform significantly worse. However, there are ways to deal with this. For PC users, you can use NoClippy or FFXIV Alexander to increase the spell queue window. For both PC users and console users, you can use a VPN to get a better route to the servers, possibly reducing your ping that way. For additional information, check the Balance Discord. XIV Analysis is a useful tool to help you analyze your rotation. Simply put in your FF logs report to see what you can improve upon. I recommend using this frequently whilst learning the job.